Next, a development on that controversial mega dam on the River Nile. Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan have agreed to resume talks over it. Well, this is the Grand Renaissance Dam built by Ethiopia. It's seen as crucial for the country's economic growth and as a vital source of energy. But as you can see from this map here, Sudan and Egypt are downstream of it. They're worried the dam will greatly reduce their access to water. All this has been causing huge diplomatic tension between the three countries. Previous talks, mediated by the African Union and the US, came to nothing. But now, after a virtual summit, we're told talks will resume. The Egyptian presidency says they will focus on developing a binding legal agreement on the rules for filling and operating the dam. In a separate development, Ethiopia said today the first-year target for filling the dam has already been reached. Well, these are radar satellite images from the European Space Agency showing the change over the last few weeks. Now, images from similar periods in 2019 and 2018 show comparative water levels when the rainy season swells the Nile River. So it's not quite clear if the dam has filled because Ethiopia has done something to speed up the process or if it's just due to rainfall. But the Prime Minister told local media, "We conducted the filling of the dam without causing harm to anyone." Well, I'm joined now by two of our specialists from BBC Monitoring. Dinu Abu-Ghazala is in Cairo, as you can see, and Beverly Ochieng is in Nairobi. Good to see you both. Right, let's this big, complicated issue, not unlike the dam itself, really. We will start, though, Beverly. The dam is filling up in some way, we think. What's the significance of this?
I mean, as you said, it is of great national, economic and social importance to Ethiopia. And Ethiopia is demonstrating that it is of great import to its citizens. But at the same time, when we see the dualism in the statements from Ethiopia, we see that there is, one, a need to quell national anxiety over whether it will meet its deadline to fill the dam, and also the need to show the downstream nations of Sudan and Egypt that its operation will not be a threat to its share of the Nile water as long as an agreement has not been reached.
I see. Dina, let's cross to you now for the kind of Egyptian side. News that talks will now resume, I presume, will be welcomed there.
Yes, so the announcement of a resumption of the talks has been announced, as you mentioned, by the presidency, presidential spokesman in his statement earlier today. And yes, Egyptian side's position has always been that we are with negotiations and talks to reach an agreement. We're against any unilateral action. So the Egyptian side is looking forward to resuming the talks. It's the question whether these talks will lead to something different or no. This is another question. And to be able to answer this question, we have to really understand, so what really prevented the three countries from not reaching an agreement so far? The Egyptian side insists on having a binding agreement that guarantees that the water flow will not be affected by the building of the dam and the filling and operation of the dam later on, while the Ethiopian side rejects that. It does not want to have a binding agreement with clear details about what happens when we have long years of drought, which Egypt requests that in that case there needs to be a certain agreement on certain amount of water that would be allowed to flow from the reservoir to guarantee that the Nile flow, the level of water will not be affected. We have to remember that the Nile for Egyptians is practically the only source of water for 100 million people. And that's why in the last statement by the foreign minister in front of the UN Security Council, he said, survival is not a question of choice, it's but an imperative of nature. And he said that Egypt will uphold and protect the vital interests of its people. So given that this has always been the Egyptian position, and this, on the other side, we have the Ethiopian position that rejects reaching such a binding agreement. So we cannot expect there will be a change unless one of them changes their position. Yeah. And this is really the trick. Yeah,
well, the trick, and the stakes could hardly be higher, could they? That's the extraordinary thing. And we're hoping, of course, that these talks end somewhere in some resolution. Let's go now. I'm interested about the impact of this dam on the national psyche in Ethiopia, and something about the different messages. There's been accusations that the leadership there kind of have one subtle message to the international world and a slightly different message to their own people there, Beverly.
I think that tends to be a lot to do with how the media has been portraying this, and the kind of narrative coming out from the media. It is certainly a very emotive issue. It has been seen as a rallying call for Ethiopians to unify amid a lot of ethnic tensions or political tensions. So that's one way of looking at it. When last week's sentiments by the water minister were sort of retracted by the state media, there was the concern that it would either raise regional tensions, which would lead to some feeling that any progressive talks on the dam would be met with a feeling of a lack of political goodwill.
Yeah.
Because Ethiopians, this has been something that they have contributed morally or financially or emotionally to.
Yeah, well, that's it, Beverly. I'm afraid I'm going to have to interrupt you there just because we're running out of time, but we get the point there, the huge stakes on both sides. Thank you so much, Beverly and Dina, for talking us through a fascinating issue there. That's it. You're watching Outside Source. Thanks very much for your company. I'm Lewis Vaughan-Jones. Bye-bye.